Alright friends, welcome to Dungeon Wars. Yeah, so this is kind of an abandoned series that I was super excited about, and then it fell off the face of the earth. And I want to explain to you what kind of happened here. So this kind of thing takes a long time to actually create these episodes, which in and of itself is its own problem. But then I made this massive episode where I added all this cool stuff into the dungeon, and then the video footage was unusable, and that really was discouraging and kind of just took me off the path of this for a while. So my plan here is, as you can see, this room looks different than the last time we were here, and I was working on this room, but I want to show you what I actually did do, and then we'll just kind of talk about that, and then I'll do my best to release little videos explaining how you can do these things and add them into your dungeon. But yeah, this series is kind of like in a train wreck mode right now, but I'm hoping to kind of rein it back in by just being consistent with it, with small episodes, small releases, and not trying to do huge episodes that when they don't work out or the footage is messed up, it doesn't set me back 2 months. So, all right, yeah, let's look at this. Okay, so before we actually go into it, I just want to show you in the main area what I added. So I added an enter message, a stone reset, which we'll talk about, and an exit message, or an exit event. And so before we actually get into this though, let's just go into the dungeon, take a look at it, and then you could see what it is that I'm talking about. I also did some cleanup here. Man, there was so much cool stuff in that video. I really am disappointed that it got messed up, but it did, so it is what it is. But all right, we'll go into adventure mode like our normal players would do, and we'll go ahead and go to spawn. So this is the spawn of the game. And so I've got this set up to where we're looking off into this area, because you could choose and set where the player looks. And so this is all going to be new here. You can kind of see before I even get in there, there's something creepy in there, right? Look at that. That is creepy. But we have an event. Yeah. So that's how it starts with the dungeon adventure. And so if I come back over here, nothing happens, and that's important, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, we come into this room, we get kind of a clue of what the dungeon theme is, which is spiders. It is a spider-themed dungeon. And then this creepy dude is here, and his name is something interesting. And his head turns and looks at you, which I find creepy, but I'm not going to say anything about the name, but maybe you notice something. And so we talk to him, and he's got some things to say. I won't read all of this, but you could pause it right there and kind of read it if you'd like. And then when we exit, he gives us a sword and a shield. Now, I was in the middle of building stuff, so I've got all these extra swords and everything on me. But he gives us a sword and a shield, and then tells us good luck. And then we come into this dark room, which leads us into the first half of our dungeon. And so, okay, how did I do all that? Well, there's a lot of different things happening inside of here, and we'll take a look at each one of them. So we'll go back into creative. And because I've been playing so much Valheim lately, it gets confusing on what is destroy and what is interact in Minecraft. So I have this extra little command block here that I can lay down and destroy, so I don't accidentally destroy my hard work here. But so the enter message, and so what we're doing here is we're testing for an area of 2 blocks, a radius of 2 blocks, to see if a player enters that. And that's what you saw, was I stepped into that little area, and then the message played. And so what this says is it's going to test for a player in that area, then it's going to put a block right here. Okay? It's going to put a block right there, and I'm going to explain why it's going to do that in a second. And then we come here, and then it plays the actual title, and it plays the subtitle. So the title is Welcome to, and the subtitle is Webs of Death. And then the last thing is you can play all of the sounds that are in Minecraft's database, and you can control the pitch and the speed at which they play. And so if we look here, it's been like a month since I did this, but I want to say the 0.4 is the speed of the playback, the 1 is the volume, and the -8 is the pitch. I may be reversing the 8 and the 4. I'd have to go back and look now, which we'll do. We'll do that. But basically, that all happens. And then right here, there's the stone reset. And so this is me testing for the player to get near the exit area. And when it does, it destroys that block right here by just making it an air block. Okay, so why would I do that? And I'm going to show you why I would do that and why you would want to do that and how you can use this trick to have a resetting dungeon so that your dungeon is infinitely replayable, especially if you plan on your players dying and coming back. So let me go back in here. I'm back in adventure mode again. And so I'm going to walk right here. So this is the trigger. The trigger is actually that block right there, but it's in a radius of 2. So anywhere I went, there's no way for me to enter this and not trigger that. And so, but if you notice, if I come out here, it's not re-triggering again. And it's not re-triggering because that stone is on top of there. And so it's not able to complete all of the lines of code. This right here killed it. So that took away the stone. So now if I come back here though, it played again. So I could get it to loop by just coming like right to about that area, kind of like that block right over there. But you'll notice if I come right now, nothing's going to happen because I haven't reset it yet. So that's important to reset the dungeon. Let's say you had like characters spawning in here and they had to fight them or they had to solve a puzzle to open a door or something. And they have to do it again if they were to die. Well, you'd need a reset as they're walking out to reset the room so that they can go to the next room. And if they die here and they go back to spawn, the room is ready again for them to interact with. And so let me just show you. Get back into creative here. Now let's go back up here. And I'm putting all of my commands on top of the actual dungeons themselves to kind of keep track of them. And so that stone, this command says set the stone block one above this block right here. And so when this checks for an entity at a particular location and it goes to place the stone, if the stone's already here, it can't do these. So it can't play the title, it can't play the sound, it can't do anything because the stone is there. And so it's just a really, really nice way of being able to reset things. It's something I use a lot. And then on our exit, we just have us getting teleported to the other dungeon entrance and getting a blind effect without the little bubbles on us for 1 second. So we can look at the dungeon number 2, which is right here. And if we come inside of here, so it's teleporting us right to this thing, and I have it looking right here. And it gives us blind effect for 1 second, so there's like a feeling of a transition. And so when this is actually complete, this would be blocked up, but I leave it open for now so I can get in here. And then my idea is that you're going to have this sword, so it's time to get to it, right? You're going to step out in either this direction or this direction, and it's just going to spawn this room with a bunch of spiders. So this is going to be our first challenge. The player will have to kill all of the spiders, and this door will actually be blocked off, like fully sealed in. So we could take a look at that. And then we'll use our fill with air command to destroy these 4 blocks right here when it's time to go, or actually maybe 6. I think it'll be 6 in the end, because I don't think I want just those 2. So this will be like this. They'll have no way out. If they try to go back in here, they won't be able to. They'll have to kill all of the spiders. And once they do so, there'll be some way to actually unlock this. Now, what I'm thinking is there'll be a way to drain this. I'm thinking maybe they get a bow in this room or something and they have to shoot a target. Or maybe something simple like I hide a lever, like right here in the dark, or a button. And if they press this button, it destroys that after they kill the spiders, and then they can exit the room. The odds of them like finding the button. So let's say we put the button like right there, right? So they click that, it destroys it. But let's say they walk in here. I don't think the player's going to go, oh, there's a button, and then click the button. They could, though, right? But either way, they're still going to spawn all the spiders. And so once we do that, when the player walks into this area, though, and we destroy that, and so there's a way to actually make that particle destruction effect happen when you fill it, too. But we'll have to have our reset command right here when it checks for the player. And then our portal will have to be further back. So we may have to kind of push this room to give a reset, to the room, and then portal back. Which means if a player came like right here, turned around and walked back in, they're going to respawn all the spiders and probably respawn the door and get themselves trapped in again. So hopefully the player will learn. Guys, I just covered a lot of stuff. I understand that. And again, I had a lot of structure to this video and we went through everything step by step. But what we're going to do is just look at one of these things right now, right? Okay. So let's come up here and let's look at just our message kind of in depth. So in the title of this video, I'll probably say like adding a custom message to your dungeon. But yeah, so let's just look at these things. So this is our first little bit of information here. And so like I said, I have my coordinates where I want to test for a player to show up. So this is test for at A, which is all players. And then these are the coordinates that I specifically selected. And I'm saying in a radius of 2. And so if you kind of think about a radius of 2, if we put the block down, we can go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So you get the point. Like, it's a big area that it's going to test for in this radius of the player, right? And so we're going to be testing for our player there. And then, again, this is probably one of the coolest ones. So we're just setting a block right at the same location. The only thing we're changing is the height. So in the middle is the height, and we're saying 1 block above so that the stone goes there. And again, this is just so if I try to have this trigger again, or I don't want the player to walk in there and just have the message endlessly running. So I did actually try it without this. And what would happen is the player would walk into the area, and then all of a sudden the screen would start just flickering endlessly with the welcome message. And so that's not what you want. It will be really annoying. And then with that sound playing, it would be just like unbearable. And so the next part is super, super easy. So title at the player. So this is saying like at the player, play this. And so that matters because you can have the title play at a place where the player is not, and then it will fail if there's nothing there to actually detect it. So at the player, we're doing welcome to, and then at the player again, we're saying Webs of Death as our subtitle, which is the smaller text underneath the larger text. And then lastly, and probably the most confusing part here, so we're playing the Ravager Roar. So it's the roar when the Ravager shows up during a raid on a village or something. And we're playing it. So even though this says at the player, I had to actually specifically put a location. So you might run into this too. So I have it playing specifically at these coordinates. That's right. This 8 is a coordinate. So the reason being is because either A, when I left it like this, I didn't hear anything. Or B, when I left it like this, it would say that there was no player in the location, even though I was right there where the block was being triggered. I suspect the sound was actually being played up here by the box without the location, and the dungeon is actually that thing. This is just some crazy mess over here. So yeah, I think that's what was actually happening. But let's look at this again. And so if we come in here, we say we're playing the sound at this location. This is the volume, and then this is the speed at which it's being played. And I think the volume can only go to 1. I can't remember. You know what? Let me stop. Let me check this out real quick. Okay. So yes, looking at my notes, this one is the volume, which is max volume. And then this right here is the pitch. So I'm slowing it down a little bit so the roar is more bassy and kind of drawn out. And so yeah, that's how you can add a custom message on side of there. And then again, we'll just look at this real quick. And then this is just to reset the stone so that it doesn't endlessly play that intro on you. And so I'm testing for the player, or any player really, at this location with a radius of 2. Your location would be different. Look at an area where your player will be exiting the particular area and think about what you want to reset. And so that's what I'm doing there. And then right here, I'm saying set the air block at this location. So these coordinates right here are the coordinates right here. So if we look, you can see I'm 38 minus 22, 0. Then I come back over here, I'm 38 minus 22, 0, and air. So I'm just putting air so that this stone block is destroyed and this can play again. So guys, I know that was a lot. Hopefully this video was making sense to you, and hopefully this will allow me to get back on track with the series, because I actually do really want to do this. I want to build this dungeon. I want to learn more about command blocks and kind of add a layer of freshness and newness to Minecraft when it can start feeling kind of stale. And also, I want to make adventure maps, man. I want to make cool stuff that my friends can try out and play along with and have a good time with. And maybe they're not like super elaborate and not super long, but they can be a lot of fun. So, and I really do think they can be a lot of fun. I want to go back real quick before we end this episode. Oh, it's so good, so good. And come back up and see our little friend here with his strange name. I want to look at his text and make sure that there's nothing strange in here. I remember I was like, what am I going to even have this guy say? Everything looks okay in here. Hopefully there's no typos or anything. But again, when you exit out, he gives you all this stuff. So the one thing I have not done yet is figure out a way, and we didn't talk anything about how you actually get an NPC inside of here, but I want to save that for a different episode. But basically, you're going to have to use the command line to get this spawn an NPC egg, and then you can interact with him and change dialogue options and things like that. But what I've been trying to play with, I wish I had not gone into him, because, yeah, my inventory's full, and that's going to fill up there. But what I wanted to do was to change it to where he can check to see if I have items already and then not give me anything, which you definitely can do. You could do those kinds of things. But for now, I think I'm going to keep it simple and just kind of keep this moving forward. And on the next episode, we're going to be adding into our spider triggers inside of here, figuring out where we want to put this little secret clicker thing. And yeah, we won't use a black stone because that doesn't blend very well. Maybe we do, so we're not being super mean, because it's kind of a dark area. And I will tell the players, like, you want to play with your brightness down a bit. I keep it really high as I'm building it so I can see pretty well. But the next room we go into after this, I've got some really cool ideas, and I can't wait to share them with you guys on the next episode of Mining Positivity. Bye, friends!